relation to Vision 2030, what would you say has been the key investment for the youth?
So youth empowerment is about ensuring that first of all, we have centers that develop and prepare the youth, which is now the Youth Empowerment Centers. But also beyond that, we have other programs like the Youth Development Fund, Enterprise Development Fund, which once the youth are prepared, can facilitate them with some minimal funding in form of loans that begin to build businesses. Also to have some capacity building. Now, those are the programs that are directly youth. But if you look at sports, for instance, it obviously targets the youth. We want to develop, excuse me, we have a sports bill that has gone through Parliament, which has got very specific programs such as the building of stadia, a lottery fund to fund the development of sports in general, because I think sports needs to be developed both as a social as well as an economic activity, with the potential not just for social activity, but creating jobs in that area for many youth in this country. But it is important also to note that almost every project in Vision 2030, if you think about it, is a youth project. And I'll tell you why. If you talk about the economic pillar, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, trade, financial services, IT, we are saying we want to create millions of jobs between now and 2030. Who will those jobs be for? Not for the older people. It's for the young people today. So we are empowering them so that in future when these jobs are created, they are the ones who take them up. When we talk about reforming the education system, who are we reforming it for? Not for those who have been to school. It is to make sure that every kid today is able to go to up to Form 4, go to polytechnics, go to college. So we are reforming the education system to prepare the youth for the jobs they're trying to create in the economic pillar. Very, very important. So in a way, if you look at the judicial system or the police force reforms, who are they for? Who do we want to have access to fair justice? It's mostly the youth. The older people, especially who are the well-off, have their own ways of accessing justice. But it is the youth today who are the most disadvantaged, for whom we need to reform the police force to be more fair, to have access to to legal aid when they have a case in court, whether it is against them or for them. If you look at affordable housing, who are we doing it for? Affordable housing is not for the rich. Okay? It is to say we want to find a system where in this country there are houses cheap enough, not just in Nairobi or Mombasa or Kisumu. We want to create urban centers across the country where we have houses cheap enough that they can be afforded by the youth, and also to create a system, a financing mechanism system where these youth can get mortgages, cheap mortgages, to allow them to buy the houses that they own for themselves. So in many respects, Vision 2030 is entirely about the youth because it is them who will be in charge. In fact, they're taking charge as we go on. But clearly by 2030, some of us will not be around. They will be squarely the ones in charge of the systems in this country. So it is important to note that particular fact that Vision 2030 in its entirety is about the youth, even before you go to the very specific elements, especially those elements in the social pillar that are targeted towards the youth. They are basically to prepare the youth, give them a leg up, so that they can take their rightful place in Vision 2030.